Okay.
Today I'm here with author Lynn Watson. New to me, I've never met Lynn, but I'm excited to hear what she has to talk about today. Welcome, Lynn. I'm so glad to have you here.
Thank you. Good to be here. Jennifer.
Tell us a little bit about you.
Okay. Do you want to know about me, about my writing? What are
Well,
you?
let's start with you, whatever you want to share so people get to know who you are, and then we'll go into the writing as that progresses.
Well, I think that most people, when they see my bio, are a little fascinated by the thing that it says that I'm a great-great-granddaughter of a baron from Southwest Germany. That does inspire, snippets of that story do inspire my writing, but I have to say that I think that's more of a mayoral role. I just know that two words I found recently were a man of influence and affluence was what you would call a nobleman. And I think that probably sums up who he was. He was in charge of a lot of people. And so, that's kind of what people see and they go, ooh, So I don't want to mislead people. I'm not the daughter of a king or anything like that.
Lording it over people these days, are you?
No, no. Somebody, when I first learned that, somebody said, ooh, a baroness. And I'm like going, we'll just kind of hold off on that. But I've loved to write my whole life. I just never really thought too much that I would be the one that would do it, So here I am and doing a little bit of reflexology and trying to help people as I can. I've been doing that for 17, 18 years. And then about 8 years ago, I sort of got led into this path of doing more seriously, doing some writing and actually publishing. So that's been where I'm at with that. I
How did you,
personally, go ahead.
I'm sorry, how did you transition into that? What was the start? You said it just didn't happen. What led you into that writing journey?
I've done it here and there my whole life. First thing that was ever published, I was 7 years old. It was
Oh,
a little
wow.
article for my brownie troop, and it was in the little town newspaper. And I've since talked to the editor of that paper a few years ago, and she said, I know everybody in that little article, that name you mentioned, and which was kind of cool. But I've just done it here and there. I used to just dream about driving flying around in my little magic carpet. I know that may sound a little weird, and gathering stories, and writing them as a kid. But we moved a lot. My family moved all the time. I went to 18 different schools between kindergarten and high school graduation. So, took a degree in journalism. Didn't know how I would ever use it after I got out of that. Worked in different jobs and then did the reflexology, went into that almost 20 years ago.
Stop you there
And
because
then,
not everybody's going to know what reflexology is. So
okay,
maybe give a little snippet of what that is.
it is body work that is done on the feet and hands generally. I do mostly feet. It can be done on the ears too, but it makes you feel like you've had a complete body massage, even though it's very non-invasive. It's very relaxing. It can be very healing. And so it's a gentle encouragement. And it's a great opportunity for me to be able to pray with my clients.
Nice.
I ask them for permission to do that. And, so I've seen some pretty cool things happen there. And people come to know the Lord better, but also people who have had some experiences worth healing. And I enjoy that, I enjoy being able to see God work that way.
Nice. And so you were doing your reflexology and you were doing a little writing and
I was doing I got involved with essential oils, which is what led me to do the reflexology thing many, many years ago. And I had played around a little bit with some ideas for some books with that in mind. And Johnny Alexander was in my Sunday school class. Some of your listeners may know that name. I feel like they do. And she said, you just need to write one and you need to come to this writer's retreat. That was in 2016. And I just kept saying, I can't, no, it's not going to be, well, she's just come. And I did. And I had a one-on-one with Harriet Michael. Am I saying that right? Is that right? Harriet Michael?
another person.
I think I've got her name right. I'll be really embarrassed if I don't. anyway, she did a lot of devotional writing, and she sat down with it and she read the one that I wrote, and she said, this is really good. It's really timely. And, it's a fresh perspective. You need to just do this. And I thought, well, okay, maybe I should do it. And I did, and I self-published the first one, The Essence of Courage, which as through my Bible study, I kind of felt like, in my research into the essential oils, that Solomon's Locked Garden, there's a list of spices and oils and things like that he used to describe her. And I kind of went in and said, what kind of, properties do these have, and how are they useful, and how would they have used them back then? And compared it to the list of the fruit of the Spirit. And it seemed like a really good parallel. So doing that, and then going with Solomon's mother's words to him about a wife, I started putting the pieces together. And so Cinnamah-Brosia came out of that. She was a made-up character, but she has a little coffee shop. And her friends come in and they share different things. In each chapter you go through, there's music that they were playing, there's treats that she served in her little coffee shop, there's story that somebody told. And all of those stories, there might be one I made up, but in all those books, those stories were true stories that somebody shared with me, and I adapted them. And they would be something about whether, it be kindness or goodness or cinnamon or, whatever spice. And put that all together. And so that's how Cinnamah-Brosia's Coffee Cottage and those books were birthed. And so then I did two more, and I did the humility and the joy was a Christmas version, and used familiar scents from Christmas, but they're all things that are in scripture.
It sounds very creative and unique. I mean, I wouldn't have even imagined. I don't think I have a great imagination, which is a sad thing as a writer. But when you can come up with something like that and make those connections, I think it's people are compelled. It's compelling, and it draws people in. Smells are so. The scent of things can be
It's
so
really important. Yeah.
Yeah,
Very important.
because they do have. I think there are certain scents that can work in your body to create a feeling of euphoria, or peace, or serenity, or like I used to do the doTERRA oils and stuff myself. And there's so many different oils, and there's so much out there showing that essential oils do have healing properties to them.
Right. And so, in addition to her little coffee cottage story, then there's a story about a woman of the Bible who exemplifies that particular thing, whether it be kindness or goodness or thankfulness, or some kind of fruit of the Spirit, or something to do with one of those spices. And there's another devotional in each chapter that refers to where it is in the Bible and brings that through. Like whether it's myrrh and all the myrrh, like that one is like 10 myrrh markers, and different places that myrrh is mentioned. And the last one in each chapter of that book is practical ways to apply, to use it, and to make it part of your life. So
Wow, it sounds wonderful. I'm gonna have to check those out. I know I'm intrigued myself. So you went from that to, was it your finding out that you are related to a baron that gave you the spark to do fiction?
I've always had a little bit of a story. I knew a little tiny snippet of it, very small snippet of my grandmother's story, and found out, probably been 20 years ago, found out a little bit more of the story. And then after I finished those other books, I talked to a cousin who gave me a few more pieces of it. And where I want to say it's inspired by a snippet. My great grandmother was in love with the carriage driver. That part of the story is very true.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah. And he did not want her to marry that carriage driver because that was beneath their station, and had other plans for her, and she didn't like the man. So that much of the story is accurate. Now, everything else you're going to read in that book of Tangled Promises came totally out of my brain and got whatever God inspired me to do, because I didn't really, I didn't know anymore. And I don't think I would have wanted to do that with my, I knew a little bit more, but I'm going to save that for the next book.
Well, so this is going to be a series, I'm guessing.
3 books, yes.
Is it going to be the same characters?
The
Or
second book will basically have the same characters, a few new ones. The third one, my plan is for that to be a dual timeline at this point. So some of the same characters and some very contemporary characters.
interesting, interesting. So tell me a little bit about your writing, like a writing day for you. Do you write every day? Do you write part days? I mean, how do you juggle the writing, the marketing, the editing, and all that comes? Yeah, the marketing, everybody just kind of gets I've interviewed one author for this podcast in the last 2 years. She loves marketing, loves it. Doesn't really care for writing as much. And I was like, well, I could use a little bit of that marketing love myself, because it's not usually something we love to do. So
Right.
a little.
Yeah, it's difficult. My journalism degree is actually advertising and public relations. So that kind of fits with it. Things, even though that was 50 years ago, it's still relevant, but doing it and getting it done, social media sounds easy. You just have to post something, but it's not that easy. I think people think that, and I had a virtual assistant for a while who said you have to feed the monster. And she's so accurate about that. You do. I mean, it's just crucial that we keep feeding it. And so that makes it really tough. I try to do most of that really first thing in the morning when we're still sitting at the breakfast table and that sort of thing. I try to get that done. But you have newsletters to get out, and you have promotional things that are going on. And right now I'm trying to build a launch team, and I sent that out to a huge newsletter list, and I've gotten 2 replies, and that's sad. I'm giving it a little more time, and I'm thinking, that'll probably we'll have more. I know we will, but people wait till the last minute and that sort of thing. So that's a lot. And then I try to write in the afternoons, but my husband's retired. He's at home, and so it makes for an interesting day.
Yeah, mine is a flip. We're up super early in the morning. Like generally we're up at 4:30 every morning. And so writing for me in the morning, I'm a much more morning person. Right by now, I will beg your forgiveness if I tend to nod off, because I've been awake since 1 o'clock this morning, and I'm already going, I'm fading. I fade about this time of day. I totally fade. And that's not even if I'm up at 1. So
Crazy.
afternoons, I can't function. I don't function well. I have to get out and do yard work, or I'll do my marketing if I have to, but you don't have to have the same creativity with marketing as you do with writing. And what about like the Instagram reels? That's the big deal. You have to do reels. It's like, really?
Reels, I haven't really done reels. Occasionally I'll do a reel where I'll put a few pictures in and put some music over it. I can do that fairly easily, but most of my stuff is just memes that I make, that I do a bunch of them up in BookBrush and have them ready to go.
Yeah, they want you to show your face. And I'm like, yeah, if I were 30 years old and, I see some of these authors that are young and vibrant, I'm like, I'd show my face if I was 30 years old, but
I haven't done a lot of that, and I need to probably do some more. And yeah, that's another challenge, right?
So when you write, I mean, if you have a deadline, so how do you keep to that deadline if your writing it sounds like it could be a little sporadic depending on your day? I mean, I get that.
Be sporadic, and I mean, I just am having to just push through, and a lot of prayer, for sure.
Are you a seat of the pantser, or are you a plotter?
More of a pantser. I mean, I plot out a little bit. I know I have a direction, but I'm probably more of a pantser. I would definitely say that.
Have you ever written yourself into a corner then?
Not that I've written myself into a corner, but sometimes I'm not sure where it should go next.
Do you feel like if you are not plotting a lot, you have to go back and edit because something new comes and now you got to go make it match up?
Sometimes you have to do that, right? This book, I had over half of it written a while back, and then had some things come up in the fall, and had to sit back for a little while. And so trying to get it back out now and trying to finish it up and trying to decide, how much detail I want to put into everything that happened. You can drag details out sometimes to where, especially in that midsection of the book, where if you don't keep it hopping, you lose your readers. And I don't want to do that either. So I'm thinking things are going to happen pretty quickly, and they have been.
Yeah, I was told of a book called In Story Engineering by Larry Brooks years ago by my mentor, one of the mentors that I had, Randy Ingermanson, and he was highly recommending that book. And it helped me because structure throws me off. You want to write your story, but there are some very specific key elements that you could throw in at certain times that keep your structure alive, keep the story alive.
Right.
I won't even write a book anymore until I look at that book and I go through that one chapter again and I look at where all that stuff's supposed to be and I can plug that stuff in, and then everything else can be written around it. But I have to have someplace to shoot for.
I'm not sure if I have that one, but I have one that has that structure somewhere, and I will refer back and forth to that because yes, it is important.
It is important.
Fall where they need to be.
So, you were telling me about well, you have the Tangled Promises coming up, and you're with Celebrate Lit. Is that true?
Correct.
So how did that all come about? Did you meet the publisher at a conference, or did you send in your manuscript? How did that work out for you?
Actually, one of my books, I guess it was probably The Essence of Joy, was in that Christmas thing that they did a few years, that they do that 12 days of Christmas. And it was included in that the year that it came out. And so I had a connection with them through that.
Nice.
And so I started looking for a publisher. I contacted them.
Yeah, good. Yeah. So tell me about for writing it specifically, what is the most challenging part of the actual
Excuse
writing?
me for that water, but I had to get that. The most challenging part to me is probably just finding the good quiet time to just keep plowing through without a lot of interruptions. I feel like that's one of my biggest challenges.
Are you juggling grandchildren and that kind of thing as well as?
No, my grandchildren are older, fortunately. There's the youngest are about to turn 16, so I don't have, they
want to come hang out with grandma?
No, they don't want to come out and hang out with grandma a whole lot. We're going to do it one day this week for a couple hours, but because they're on spring break, but
Yeah.
we don't have as much as we used to. I mean, they used to be over here all the time. I sure wouldn't have been able to write then.
Young mothers writing, and I don't know how they do it. I see young mothers homeschooling children and writing, and I'm like, how in the world? I guess
I
if you really have it, in your mind, I was teaching full time with kids at home. There was no way I could write. There's no way I could write. So,
Yeah.
so if that's the most challenging, what is the most fun part of writing for you?
When the ideas are coming and popping. I think that's probably true for a lot of authors, when your ideas are really springing up and you've really got your characters are really interacting with each other and you're just
Running
almost can't get
ride.
fast.
There was an author, I quoted him at some point, I can't remember who it was now, a well-known author who said that storytelling is basically running behind the characters with pencil in hand and just jotting down everything they say. Because I think that happens, and it sounds like it happens for you a lot. It happens for me a lot as well.
For sure.
So with the historical, because this is all historical, what time period does Tangled Promises take?
This is 1880. Tangled Promises is 1881.
And is it in Germany?
Pardon?
Is it set in Germany?
Germany. A little bit in France, and a couple of the characters make some trips to Monte Carlo.
And how do you do the research for that? I mean, that's a lot. That's what throws me off about historical fiction is the research, finding out to be true to.
One of the things that really helped me is was a reflexology client that I got to be friends with. She was actually from that very area of Germany where I was trying to set my book. And she sat down with me. We got on her computer in German keyboard and looked a lot of things up. And she really helped me find a lot of it and really set my scene, that helped a bunch. And then Paris and Monte Carlo. And actually, like I said, I think in the book it says Monaco because I had both interchangeably. It's such a small little tiny place. It's like a square mile or something. And I think I just ended up using Monaco throughout to keep confusion down. But I had a book about that, The Making of Monte Carlo, which was really helpful for the small amount that I needed on it. And then Paris, there's a lot out there on Paris, and so you just have to dig through a lot of internet stuff. This friend and I had a trip planned. We were all going to go to Germany in fall of 2019, and they had something happen and we were not able to go, and we were postponed it till May of 2020.
See how that went.
So you know how that went. Yeah.
How that went.
It never happened. And that would have been great, to have been able to be there and to really see a lot of it firsthand. But it was great to have somebody be able to give me firsthand descriptions of things.
Well, the internet, boy, that makes a big difference. Can you imagine trying to do the research? I can't even imagine. I mean, when I first went to college, it was we were trying to explain, my sister-in-law and I were trying to explain to my daughter about, because she's got a master's in information and library science. And we're trying to explain to her, when we went to college and you had to write a paper that had a footnote, you had to make sure that you had it all lined out, because if you got to the end of the page and you didn't have enough margin for your footnote, you had to start all over again. And she's like, "Are you kidding?" And I said, "No," because she thought it was so cool. They had that little thing where you could just backspace and untype things with, you remember with the whiteout where you type back over. And I said, "No," I said, "You have no idea how easy you guys have it today." But we as authors, to be able to, you can go on Google Earth and you can see firsthand anywhere in the world, and you can walk into a town and see what it looks like. So it does make things a lot easier these days than back in the day when people like Mark Twain was writing.
Of course, he traveled all over the place, so he had firsthand experience there, but
that helps too if you can be a traveler. Yeah.
I don't always have that freedom,
So can you give us a little bit of a blurb or even the back cover copy? Because Tangled Promises comes out. This podcast is coming out on the 16th, and your book will be coming out the week after. It's releasing, I believe, on the 24th. Is that
the 21st, I think.
or
It's a Tuesday. Is
okay,
that a 20?
only a few days after this podcast. So people are going to, we want to get them excited about going in, because they'll still be able to pre-order the book, correct?
Yeah, they'll still be able to pre-order the book. And I think pre-orders go through the first week, don't they?
And do you have a pre-order gift for those?
There is a pre-order link and a pre-order gift. The
Okay.
pre-order gift is it's a backstory, it's a chapter, it's a scene of the story, but it's a backstory. It's definitely backstory, but it gets the reader to know what's happened and how things got to where they're at really quickly, but it also involves the reader in a way that there's sort of a game that they played that is going to be something. I have worked it up for the reader to be able to be involved in that.
Well, I'll be sure that those links are in the show notes so that you guys, whoever's listening and wants to go and pre-order this book, that you can do so. We'll give you the link for that. And just so you know, when you pre-order a paperback book, you cannot actually pre-order. You can't actually pre-order it before the day of release. You'll still get, I think you get a pre-order price still. But the ebook, it's important if you're pre-ordering Lynn's ebook that you fill out the form on the link we're going to put in the show notes, because if you don't fill it out, you can't get the gift. There's no way for them to know to send it to you. So be sure that you follow the link in the show notes when you pre-order her ebook. I don't know how you do it with paperback. When I do my paperbacks, my pre-order gift is included in the paperback. It's just the back cover, the back story. Because I always do a short story.
I don't know how that works.
Okay.
Because the form, the pre-order, the gift with pre-order form is sent out from Celebrate Lit.
Right. So I would suggest whatever you pre-order, make sure you fill out that form so you can get that gift regardless. Okay. Right. And all you're going to need when you fill that form out is your, I think your Amazon receipt number. Yeah, so that they can say that you okay. Can you read the back cover copy of Tangled Promises?
I can read the back cover copy. I was just pulling that up while you were saying that. Thunderous applause extinguishes her dream and ignites her worst nightmare. Clara Reinhold's father publicly pledges her hand to Georg Wolff. His character and arrogance match the stench of his odious cigars, but his lineage offers a suitable alliance for the station of a baron's daughter. A charade's clue years earlier turned friendship into a promise of forbidden marriage between Clara and family carriage driver Daniel Becker. If she refuses Georg and follows her heart, her father disowns her and she loses everything, her loving family, dear friends, and the only home she's known. As a tangled web of scandal and deceit unwinds, hidden motives and illicit activities emerge among an unsuspecting ring of players, changing everything but nobility's rules. How will justice be served? And how will Daniel and Clara overcome obstacles to claim a future beyond that of a charade?
Oh, sounds really good. Really good. And everything on Seller Lit goes on Kindle Unlimited too. It's just so people know. People think, I think a lot of people think, well, if I do Kindle Unlimited, the author doesn't make anything, but that's not true. You can actually make more on Kindle Unlimited because the authors get paid per page that you turn. So if
I always tell people that do Kindle Unlimited to be sure you turn all the way through, even if you just
finish that
not
book,
finish it, keep
flip through
going.
those pages. Anyway, I know that sounds bad, but no, seriously, people are fearful that if they get a book on Kindle Unlimited, they're cheating the author, but that is not the way it is. So just so you guys out there know that the author does get paid sometimes better on Kindle Limited, especially with by the time you pay your publisher and you pay all your Amazon fees and everything else, it dwindles down to just about nothing. So that's exciting, Lynn, that's coming out on, you said May 21st. We'll put the link in for people to pre-order. I will be sure and put your website link in there. Do you write a blog? Do you do a blog?
Blog is on my website. I don't keep up my blog really a lot. I have a newsletter that goes out and I try to put something in there, and I might have put it on my blog first and then put it in there, and I may not.
Okay,
but I can give you a link to sign up for the newsletter too.
And that's on your website too. If they go to visit your website, they can actually sign up for the newsletter right there. So we'll have all that and your social media links and every way that they can contact you right there. And I will also list out your Cinnamah-Brosia's books as well. I think people will be interested in reading those. So I will put all those on there as well. So it has been such a pleasure having you and being able to talk about your books and your writing journey. I'm excited about this book, Tangled Promises.
I'm excited.
I'll bet.
It's like it's been forever in coming. It seems like I started it and it's changed and more so many times. And so been some great people who have helped me and mentored me along with it. And so I'm excited that it's
excited when you see your cover for the first time, isn't it? When you see your cover, your book actually with a cover on, it's like, wow, it's real. Makes it real. Yeah. Well, congratulations. We're excited for you. And we will have all that information in your show notes. It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me today.
Thank you, Jennifer. It's a pleasure to be here.